Hey, I went and saw the Between the Buried and Me tour back on Friday. Um, and I had a pretty good time. That is the tour. It's a pretty progressive lineup. Kind of like a newer progressive sound that's kind of been dominant these past couple years. There it was. Between the Buried and Me was headlining, and then opening for them, direct support was Death Heaven, the black metal kind of also mixed with shoegaze post rock kind of band from California. And then also there was Intronaut, who I actually hadn't seen for about 6 years since then. And then opening the show was a Canadian band called The Kindred. The show was at the Granada Theater in Lawrence, Kansas. It had a really good turnout. It was one of the most packed shows I think I've seen there in a while. Um, the first band, The Kindred, when they started, um, they were playing, they were instrumental. And then I found out later on that they're actually not an instrumental band. It looks like their vocalist was in the hospital or something like that. The keyboardist kind of came on to the microphone and kind of said something about it, but I didn't really catch what he was saying. But as for their performance, they were all right. Their instrumental, like I could tell that their instrumental music was not made to be instrumental. I actually checked them out when I got home. I don't really like them that much with their singer, but by themselves, instrumental, I thought they were okay. They would have to, if they wanted to keep doing instrumental, I think they'd have to put in some crazy, like, riffing solos that are, like, mind-blowing. Kind of like Animals as leaders, stuff like that. But yeah, they're not exactly like a genty kind of sounding band, but really like a straight-up progressive band. Like they had a couple pseudo breakdown moments, but that was kind of to be expected. But they were pretty good. I like them. Yeah, hopefully their singer gets better and they can get out there and keep it going. All right, the next band was Intronaut. I saw Intronaut back in 2008 at the Bottleneck in Lawrence, Kansas, opening for High on Fire, and I hadn't seen them since. So they came on. They were a lot different than I remembered. They're a lot more kind of mellow. They kind of took a more stoner approach to their progressive sound and stuff like that. Their last three songs, they played 5 songs. The last 3 were from their latest album. That was, I think, definitely the best songs that they played that night. Their bass player is astounding. I think Between the Buried and Me's bass player is maybe the best bass player I've ever seen live. And Intronaut's bass player is way up there too. They sounded great. The crowd kind of that was like kind of the first big response from them that night. They enjoyed it for sure. Pretty heavy. They did a lot of cool little things with their instruments to kind of surprise me a little bit. But yeah, they're good. Glad I got to see them again. I hope I get to see them again real soon. Now, I've seen Between the Buried and Me now 6 times. So my main reason for going to the show is Death Heaven. I know Death Heaven is probably the most, I don't know, the most divisive band in metal right now. When Sunbather came out, I only saw 2 opinions on it. Either people loved it or people hated it. And it's still that way. Luckily, at this show, a lot of people were there for Death Heaven, which was awesome. When they came on, they launched into Dreamhouse, their first song, and a pit started, which I thought was kind of funny. Not only because when I saw Death Heaven last year, there was no pitting or anything like that, but to pit to black metal and to black metal like that, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. But it's really cool. They sound amazing on stage. The sound quality of their performance at the Granada was way better than I saw them at the Record Bar in Kansas City. There is kind of overblown, kind of way too much. But here, I think everything mixed really well. George, their vocalist, is insane on stage. He has one of the best black metal shrieking voices I've ever seen live. And they can replicate everything they do on album on stage. During Dreamhouse, he actually jumped down and kind of got into the crowd, and the crowd kind of sang along. So that was really neat. Yeah, lots of mosh pitting, a couple crowd surfers as well. But yeah, really, they just kind of proved that they're awesome on album, and then they're also awesome live. Um, One of the best live bands from the American metal scene right now, and one of the most important in my opinion. But I'll say that for another time. And yeah, so headlining was Between the Buried and Me. Like I said, it's like my fifth or sixth time seeing them. On this tour, a couple dates they were going to perform all of their new album in its entirety, and we were one of those dates. Last time I saw them, they performed their EP, The Parallax One, in its entirety, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. Kind of the same thing happened here. I really need to familiarize myself with their newer stuff if I'm gonna see them and they're performing it all in its entirety. Like, there was definitely some good parts. The song Telos was really good. Parts of like Silent Flight Parliament and stuff like that. But I definitely found myself checking my phone a lot, being like, God, okay, I got it. I know on some of their other stops on this tour, they had like a whole varied set list, which I really wish we would have gotten. But the new album, it was alright. But luckily, they came out for their encore and played Son of Nothing, which is by far my favorite Between the Buried and Me song. So that was worth it. Again, Between the Buried and Me, they're just chock full of talent. Their guitarist and their bass player, two of the best I've ever seen. They're awesome. For this tour, they have like two circular projection screens flanking the stage, and they just projected stuff up there. Made it really easy for me to know when songs were ending and other songs were beginning. But other than that, pretty standard performance. But standard performance from Between the Buried and Me is usually pretty good. Yeah, the crowd was going crazy for them, jumping up and down, lots of moshing, lots of crowd surfing, stuff like that. So yeah, I think whenever Between the Buried and Me comes here, they'll always get a good reception. And yeah, whenever they come back, I'll definitely try and see them again. But yeah, so that was my first concert for March, and then March and April I'm going to be going to a ton. Let's see, I think I'm going to be trying to go to the Sword tomorrow night, so I'll try and get a review of that. But yeah, so stay tuned, and thanks a lot!